Okay guys, we're going to start with our slab and we're going to use our Metro card. We're going to hold it long ways with our thumb on this side and our fingers on the other. And we're going to gently pet our slabs. This motion compresses the clay and it also smooths out any bumps that may have formed while we were stretching our slab. Going in two directions is fine. You'll also want to do the other side. This obviously doesn't work as well as a metal rib tool, but when we're at home, that's what we got. You could also use a credit card if you're looking for something a little more sturdy. So now we're going to bring our paper cup, which we've now cut down the seam, as well as taken the bottom out. We'll be able to unfold it like this and put it to one side of our slab. We're going to try and make our whole cup from this slab, so put it to the side so you can use this part as the bottom. I'm going to use my toothpick to trace out my cup from the stencil. And when I lift up, yeah, there's our stencil. Great. Okay, so I'm going to turn the slab a little just because it's easier for me to cut it when it's looking at me in the right direction. I'm going to use my knife, plastic knife in this case, but if you only have metal, that is obviously preferred. Just be careful, don't cut yourself. Ball up your scraps and wrap them in a little piece of plastic or put them in a plastic baggie. This way you can use your clay later. I have a little of the dry cleaning plastic, so I'm just going to put my clay in there, wrap her up, put her aside. Back to cutting out my cup. Now, I'm going to carefully peel the clay off, and there is our mug template. Looks pretty good. I'm just going to put this here. I'm going to cut these pieces off. I'm not going to ball them up just yet because they're nice big pieces of our slab. I might be able to squish them together for something else later. So I'm just going to put them aside. Okay, so our cup, how do we want to design it? So I showed a few options before. I have a seashell and a bottle brush, a bracelet I was done wearing, this like netting stuff from the grocery store. So I think I'm going to start with this stuff. And you can actually kind of stretch it over the slab a little. And just with my fingers, kind of push it out, stretch it to get kind of like that fishnet look going to it. It's faint, but it's there. The other thing that I like using a lot is that stuff from underneath the carpet, no skid stuff. This is going to make a deeper impression. So maybe I'll do this kind of stuff along the bottom part. I want this to be the bottom. So again, I'm just going to push it in with my fingers. The clay is pretty wet, so it's cooperating to just go and be smushed. If yours is a little drier, you can use your rolling pin to push it in as well. But be careful to not flatten out your slab more. Oh, okay, yeah, that looks much better. So now we've kind of got this slab with the fishnet up here and the crosshatch down here. I'm also going to smooth out the top of my cup because that's where my mouth is going to go, and whatever is bumpy now is going to be sharp later. I'm just going to smooth all my edges. Great. Okay, what else? So I've got this bottle brush thing. I think I'm going to kind of go across like this. Ooh, okay, maybe more of a roll. There we go. Little trees. Little trees. Okay, I'm really liking how this is going. That looks really good. Okay. Let's see, what's next, guys? Let's do some seashell design. I'm gonna kind of do the same thing. I'm just gonna roll and roll. Okay, and let's see, one more thing. What should one more thing be? Let's do the bracelet. So this bracelet has kind of like swirly beads on it, which I really like. And maybe I'll do something where she comes in, just the swirly bead. Push. Oh yeah. Change direction. So this is what we've got going on our cup. I'm really into it. And now we're going to make a handle for it. So the handle doesn't need to be anything crazy, and you actually don't even need to make a handle for a teacup or just a regular little drinking cup that we're going to make here. Because the thing we want to keep in mind is our cup, at least this cup that I selected, is on the fairly small side. This is like a small coffee. So if you do keep your cup and you do get to fire it eventually, it is going to be smaller than this. So if you want a regular mug size, I would pick a larger paper cup. You could also just cut a rectangle, and then you could cut the rectangle to whatever size you wanted. So you can make a really, really big cup if you wanted. But we're going to stick with this size, and we're going to use our spoon. No, we're going to use our knife to help us with a handle size. So I really like the shape of this handle on the knife. So I'm going to use my toothpick to trace out just the handle part of this knife. I also think this is a good proportion for the cup that we have. Gently pick this up. If it gets stuck, you can use your other tools to pry it off. There we go. And I'm just sort of going to eyeball where it should go across. And now I'm going to use my knife to cut out the shape I just made. It's not real close because we're really using all our home tools. We're not going to be as precise. But hey, it's what we got. I'm going to ball this scrap up. Add that to my plastic. Okay, and now I'm also going to bend my handle at this point. So I always like to do the little ears. I'm going to keep doing that, and I'm just going to press it and set it aside. So standing up our mug. So again, I don't have like a pin tool. So what I did was I took some toothpicks and I tied them, or rather I taped them together. So whenever you're building your mug, whenever you're attaching two pieces of clay, always scratch along the edges that you're going to attach. Scratch to attach. It rhymes, so we remember. And flip it over, and we also do the other side. Scratch to attach. We're going to use, I don't have any slip, so I'm just going to use some water and make some slip on the site. So add some more water, do some more scratching, scratch up that surface to make it really want to bind with the other side. Okay. Okay, we're going to turn our slab around, and we're going to push the edges gently together to combine. So I just like to go up once kind of loosely to get together, and then now I can really lift it and push in. Really and I always like to push from both directions so you get kind of like more of an even blend. And if it doesn't look too pretty when you first do it, that's okay. As your mug sets up and gets a little more firm, it'll be easier to smooth without like touch one thing and the other side pops out, and you touch the other thing, first side pops out again. So it's okay that it's a little messy right now. When it dries, I'll be able to kind of make that a little prettier. Same goes for the inside, but for right now, all we want to do is kind of cup our hands around our cup so that it gets the round shape that we want. See how if I squeeze it too much, it goes like that. I squeeze it, it goes like that. So I'm gonna use my finger to kind of round it out, and then I'm gonna put it down, and I'm gonna continue to sort of round it out like this. Okay, so we're just gonna let this set up a little bit, and then we'll add the bottom of our cup, and we'll add the handle. And we're back. So now that our mug has had some time to set up, what I'm just going to do is I'm going to smooth out the lip of the cup. Because everything, especially where our mouth is going to be touching, we want to be really smooth. Anything that's bumpy now can be sharp later. So if you go over in one direction, back over it, try and smooth out any seams that you might be making. Our handle has also been setting up this whole time. So that should be ready to be smoothed as well. And we're still going to take another second to sort of like round out anything that. Okay, so now our little handle guy, little ear shape, he's so cute. So what I want to do with this is the same thing. And if your finger is very dry and tacky, just put it a little bit in the water. Just a very little bit goes a long way when trying to smooth. If you add too much water, then your handle gets really muddy and then really becomes difficult to attach. So we want to make this part really smooth as well, because that's where our hand is going to be. We don't want a mug that has sharp handle corners. You can also take this time to like define the shape of the handle a little bit more. So I'm going to like give this guy a little flare, go back over this part, really make him smooth. Okay, it's pretty good. Handle, okay. Just put him back over here. Okay, so the bottom of our cup is going to come from that piece of slab that we still have left. And I'm just going to use my fingers to smooth it out. I think they actually do a better job than that Metro card in the end. And I'm just going to place my cup onto the slab. I'm going to get that toothpick back, trace the shape of the cup with my toothpick, and take the cup away. Now we have our circle. I'm going to use our knife to cut our circle out. I'm going to cut a little bit outside of the stencil that I made just because I give myself a little bit of leeway to trim it up later. Okay, that's our circle. Now, we're going to get our scratching tool back. You're going to scratch inside the circle, but on the top, because the mug is going to go like this. So these two pieces are going to attach, and before we attach, we must scratch to attach. Oh, I love this little tool so much. If I had a pin tool, I'd have to make each individual line. At least this way I'm making 4. Scratching both sides before we're attaching. And again, I'm going to take a little bit of water, just a fingertip, and dab it on to try and make a little bit of slip on the site. Okay, now put the two pieces together. Make sure they are lining up. If they don't line up, it's okay. Just put your hand on the inside. Try and push it out. A little tap on the table just to get it to really be attached. You can see on the inside it's attached. You can get in there. If you have a fingertip, you can get in there. If you have a fingernail, you can probably make that line like I did. So really what I want to do is get like a pencil, use the pencil eraser to sort of get into those corners. That would be a good one. I don't have a pencil right now. So we're going to let this set up again for a little while, and then we can trim this part off and attach our handle. In the meantime, I'll get that pencil. So for my pencil, what I was saying before is that you can use your eraser to to smooth out those little lines that maybe are showing through, and to also just tighten up the seam. This might also want a little bit of water. Oh yeah, that's way better. Okay, smoothed out. Now we're going to come back in with our knife, and since the cup is small, I feel confident in holding it in my hand, sort of trimming like this. If you do have a sharper knife for this kind of work, I do recommend it, but I'm going to keep trying to push forward with this guy for now. It's okay if it's a little jaggedy. It's still wet, so we can always manipulate it back into what we want. Okay, yeah, so I'm just going to use my thumb now to smooth out that seam. If your fingers start to get like this, clay on it, just wipe that off. Dry it off on that towel. Okay, we are almost there. Okay, so for your handle, I usually like to put my handle on the seam. Seams don't always like have the pattern go across, and they sometimes can look weird. So I like to put my handle there to cover up any weirdness that might be happening. So see that bend that I made actually fits perfectly on this mug. Might widen it up a little bit. You have a little bit bigger hand. Okay, so I'm going to lay my handle on here. I'm going to use my toothpick to make just a little reference marks on where my handle was. So when I take it away, I can see, I can use my scratching tool to scratch where the two pieces are going to. That's where you yell, attach. Oops. A little bit of water. And placing the handle back within the marks that I made. Now, this part you really do want to push your handle on. So if you want to put your hand on the inside to support, I would recommend that. And then you can really push in, push down. Also take this time to shape your handle a little bit more. You want to try and keep the top of your handle below the lip of your mug. See how it's below? If your handle comes up over the top like this, you're going to hit yourself in the face with the handle every time you go to drink. I mean, maybe you like that, but I don't recommend it. Okay, and there you have your handmade, homemade mug. Hold on to that. We can fire it whenever. It can't get too dry before it goes into the kiln. So you're all set.